Hey there, T here. Just wanted to apologize for the audio quality on A's part of the video. We had an issue where his mic cut out and we lost the bulk of what he recorded. So we have tried to do everything we can to clean up the audio, but it still sounds kind of rough. This will be fixed by our third video, but unfortunately the East and West video, the predictions were recorded together. But anyway, thanks for listening and enjoy the predictions. Starting at number 7, I got the Auburn Tigers. Okay. Auburn this year, I kind of feel sorry for Brian Harsin. You almost can't help but feel sorry for the guy. You know, they tried to pull the coup on him. And get him out of there while he was on vacation or whatever. And, you know, for what that's going to do for the program going forward, I don't think it's going to help them. Let's put it that way. But that's a story for a different day. Looking at this coming year, I have Auburn going 6-6 this year. Not sure if that's going to be enough to keep Brian Harsin from, you know, having them trying to attempt another coup, or if that would be enough for him to keep his job, don't know. But they've kind of hamstrung themselves by doing what they did. The Auburn boosters or whatnot, the people that were behind that whole shenanigans. But Auburn, to me, this year, looking on the field, they don't have a good quarterback. I mean, you got TJ Finley, who is marginal at best at quarterback. You know, they went out and got Nick Calzada because he beat Alabama. So Auburn went out and got him. I've heard he has not looked very good so far in camp, so I'm not expecting him to set the world on fire. Then you got Robbie Ashford, who I think is, you know, he's transferred in from Oregon. It's kind of interesting. Auburn kind of did a quarterback swap. Bo went to Oregon, and then they took Robbie Ashford. I do think Oregon got the better of that little trade. But once again, Auburn I just don't think they're going to be very good at quarterback. It's kind of sad because they probably have the best running back in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, Tank Bigsby, there's very few teams in the country that wouldn't trade their back for Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby is an awesome back. Problem is, that's pretty much going to be all they're going to have. They've lost a ton of transfers, you know, with everything that's happened really over the last 2 years. A ton of transfers have left. Their recruiting has not been where it needs to be, especially to compete in the SEC West. So I'm not expecting a very good year for Auburn. Their schedule's pretty difficult. You know, they're one of, if not the only team in the country that has to play Georgia and Alabama in the regular season. So that's tough. So the schedule's not helping them out. The boosters have not helped them out. The transfers have not helped them out. And injuries really have not helped them out either. So between all of that, you got a team that I'm seeing is going to struggle to make a bowl game. So I've got them at 6-6, finishing 7th, and the over/under 6.5. So I have them just under. So hey, what you got at 7th in the West?
Well, at 7, I am gonna go with Auburn, more explicit Eagle. I'm putting them at 5-7 for 7th. I've got them one game less than you, because their quarterback situation just scares me. I mean, if that's the best you can put on the field is 3 transfers that other people didn't want, that's very iffy. So that's where I start with. And just like you, I feel bad for Brian Harsin. The man is so handcuffed between boosters wanting to get rid of him. He doesn't have a quality quarterback. Defense is good, but not great. If it wasn't for keeping Tank there, it could be a lot worse than this 5. They would be a lot closer to Vandy than they are Mississippi State. So Auburn, for me, 5-7, 7th in the West. That's as good as I can do for you. I'm sorry, Auburn.
Yeah, and I could see that, honestly. I could see Auburn. To be honest with you, if Auburn starts out and loses some games they're not supposed to, this thing could get off the rails quick, and 6-6 might be a pipe dream. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so at number 6 in the West, I got Mississippi State Bulldogs, the Fighting Mike Leaches. Mississippi State this year, I'm a little more up on Mississippi State than some. I don't know if I really feel like that Mike Leach will ever win the West or, contend for the SEC title or anything while he's there. But as long as he has a pretty good quarterback and some pretty good athletes, I think he's going to win more games than he loses. With them this year, they got Rogers coming back, Will Rogers at quarterback. They got some talent at wide receiver. And really, that's pretty much about all you need to know about them on offense is what's their quarterback and receivers like. Because, they're not going to run the ball more than 5 or 10 times a game. And you either stop it or you don't. If you got a secondary and you play a good secondary and you play them correctly, you could slow them down pretty good. If you don't have a good secondary, they'll score 50 on you. I mean, it's just one or the other. And I think they've got pretty good talent this year. And like I said, I like Rodgers as a quarterback. He's going to throw it 60 times a game. So he's going to put up some, Xbox numbers. But, the West is just a tough division. Man, it's just tough. I think Mississippi State, they always seem to have a pretty good defense. Normally their defensive front's pretty good. The over-under this year for Mississippi State 6, so I'm one better on that. I don't see them, really knocking out like Alabama or nobody. But when it comes to the middle to the lower part of the SEC, I think they can take on about any of those and beat them. So, but that's what I got at 6. What you got, Aaron?
At 6, I'm going to agree with you. The Pirate leading the Bulldogs. The only difference is I've got them 6-6. I'm really not big if you don't have a running game at all in the SEC. You got to come up with some way to slow down the pass rush and everything. Their defense will be good. And I do think Mike Leach is a good coach. It's just, in the SEC, when you get in the red zone, you got to be able to line up and do some smash mouth every now and then. And they just never do that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because I just think they are just a little better than average. But they can put a scare in you if you play them wrong. But if you got a good defensive coordinator, good game plan, you can handle them. They do have a very good quarterback that always gives them a chance to win. But Mississippi State 6-6 and 6 in the West. Ooh, I don't like putting them numbers together. But that's where I'm going with the Bulldogs this year.
All right, so far we're the same on both of our picks here so far. 5th in the West, I've got LSU. Now this, to me, LSU is the biggest wild card when you look at the team when you look at a team's floor, how bad they could be, and their ceiling, how good they could be, to me, LSU has the biggest gap. I could see them, honestly, if things got bad, I could see them going 4-8. Also, if they got on a little bit of a roll and some teams or some guys play better than they expect, and they suffer no injuries, I could see them winning 9 or 10 games. I mean, they just really, with the new coaching staff, they're going to have a new quarterback. They're going to have new people everywhere. While Coach O was there, he had let the scholarship numbers get really low. So they're kind of having to build that back up. But as far as their starting 11 on both sides, I mean, they're up there with just about anybody as far as their starters go. They have talent. LSU has talent. I think their issue is just going to be depth. The same way it is with a lot of teams. That's one of the biggest things we look at. If you just look week to week, LSU has got as much talent as anybody on a week-to-week basis. But they're going to have to stay healthy. But like I said, I expect their defense is going to be pretty solid. They're going to have a real good defensive front. So I expect the defense to be good. I expect the offense to be okay to good. I think it will get better as the year goes along. They've got just so many transfers and such that are going to have to gel. So once again, I got them going 8-4, finishing 5th in the West, and beating the over/under of 7. Okay, hey, what you got?
Okay, at number 5 in the West, I'm not going to be as positive as T is there. I got LSU at 6-6. They do have a very good coach. Brian Kelly has done good everywhere he's been. So the coaching's there. It's just a matter of time. It's just their time is not right now. Because of their schedule, they have talent on both offense and defense, and they're the only ones that gets the pick out of their state, except for when Alabama comes in there and steals 1 or 2. But they play Florida State out of conference, Florida and Tennessee out of the East, and then throw in the West. That's too many chances to lose. So that's why I'm going this year, in his first year. Hang in there, Cajuns. They're going to be better. But this year, I'm going 6-6 LSU in the West.
And yeah, I like that, especially the future. I think the future of LSU is going to look pretty good. I didn't know when they fired Brian Kelly, but the more I've seen of him, the more I think he's going to do a good job there. He's going to be good there. All right, next at 4th in the West, I got the Ole Miss Rebel Bears. I'm probably a little higher than some have been on Ole Miss. I've seen some people that really don't think Ole Miss is going to be good this year. I know they are basically built on transfers. You got Jackson Dart, who came over from USC. You've got Zach Evans, who came over from TCU. And on down the list. They have a lot of transfers. But something tells me that Kiffin is going to get those guys to jail pretty good, and they're going to play together. Kiffin's pretty much known as a quarterback whisperer, so I'm expecting them to have good quarterback play. I'm expecting Zach Evans to be one of the better backs in the SEC. Their defense improved a lot last year. If it can improve much at all, their defense should be pretty decent. And I just think with Kiffin, you're always going to put up points. So to me, looking at their schedule, I can see them being 8-4. I mean, that to me, that's right in that sweet spot of where, they could win 10 games, they could win 6 games, but I really feel like they're going to win 8. The over under for them is 7.5. So once again, I'm a little bit going on the over here, but that's just the way I see it. I got a lot of faith in the Kiffin train. So. All right, what you got, A?
Okay, the number 4 team in the West with a 7-5 record is going to be the Ole Miss Rebels. The Fighting Lane Kiffins there, offense has not really been their issue since he's arrived. He will end up developing a quarterback. Now, they may take on some early season losses because of the inexperience. But as the season goes along, whoever is the quarterback, they will get better. Now, they lost a few of their halfbacks, so that worries me as far as depth. But since they got Zach Evans, the starter will be fine. But they cannot take on a bunch of injuries at halfback. So, and their receiving core, they have just one proven receiver to me coming back. So that's going to be a work in progress. The defense improved last year. But can they keep losing their defensive coordinator? Can they keep on that progression is the thing I worry about. Their schedule, especially their non-conference schedule, is not that formidable. I just think 7-5 is about their max with an unproven quarterback. They will finish 4th in the SEC West.
All right. So, getting up here toward the top of the West, I've got 2 teams with the same record at 2-3. So I just have to kind of look at the head-to-head here. So in third, I'm going to go with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Got them finishing 9-3, and let me tell you, I love Sam Pittman. He could coach my team any day. To me, man, he built that team the right way. He coaches the right way. And I just like what they're doing over at Arkansas. They got a returning quarterback, KJ Jefferson, who has continued to get better. Seems like he's been playing 3 or 4 years. But he's started off, mainly being a runner. Then he's developing his throwing as he's been going along, and he's really developing into a good quarterback. They lost Burks to the NFL, but they got Hazelwood from Oklahoma at receiver. So he's going to have that should have a go-to guy. On offense. I like their running game. Arkansas has always been known, as the big hogs up front, and especially since Bielema was there, they've kind of always been known to be a running team. But I love their running game. Also love their defense. I love how this team plays defense. They play as a team. They run to the ball and they tackle. I just love to watch them play defense. They're one of the teams that I love to watch. I love to watch Arkansas because they're just so tough and hard-nosed. But I think they're going to win 9 games this year. I think they could win 9 games and probably be one of the 10 best teams in the country and lose 3 games. I honestly think that with Arkansas this year. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Hogs. So what you got, A?
At number 3, I am going to go with the Aggie Vaders, the Texas A&M Aggies, but I'm going to have them at 8-4. Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M has been very underwhelming, his quarterback play. He's supposed to be a quarterback guru, but the quarterbacks, he's not had an elite quarterback yet. And until you get elite quarterback play, I can't put you up at double-digit wins. Yes, he wants to beat Alabama every year so bad he can't stand it, but they will have a good running game. They every year they have good line play and good halfbacks, but when it really comes down to it, they can't throw the ball consistently. They usually have a better than average defense, bordered on good. So they stay in ball games, but you cannot beat the elite teams without quarterback play. So the Texas A&M Aggies at 8-4 will be no better than third in the SEC West.
That I see your points on there. I obviously, since you know who's number one and you know who's 3 through 7, obviously I've got Texas A&M at 2. I've got Texas A&M going 9-3 this year. I'm a little more positive on the Aggies than you are. One of the biggest reasons I'm high on A&M is just their talent, top to bottom. You know, they've had good, and not just looking at last year. I know last year they had their greatest recruiting class of all time, and that's great. But, you know, a bunch of those guys, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before the bulk of that class really gets on the field. You'll have some guys that'll get in the rotation. I mean, you always do. Every team does. So some of those guys are going to get in the rotation, but they've recruited well pretty much the whole time that Fisher's been there. So, you know, they're going to have talent top to bottom. They're really their only issue is quarterback play. That I see. I mean, their defensive front should be very good. Like I said, talent top to bottom on the defense. They always have a pretty good offensive line. They're always able to run, just like you said. But they've got good skill. They got good skill guys. I really like A-Chain at running back. I really like A-Chain. And the dude can fly. I don't see them, you know. I don't see them beating Alabama this year because that's kind of a circle game for Alabama. So I don't see them beating them. That's going to be one of their losses. And it just seems like every year Jimbo drops a game or two that he shouldn't. And until he quits doing that, I'm going to keep predicting him to do it. So he's we don't know as far as quarterback goes with him yet. You know, they got Max King, and then the core is Haynes King. My bad. They have Haynes King. You can cut out the Max King so I don't sound like a complete dumbass. So they got Max King. Shit, I did it again. So they have Haynes King at quarterback, and they also have Max Johnson from LSU. And from what I've heard, those are pretty much going to be the two guys. You know, Haynes has dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, so we've got to see very little of him. Of course, Max Johnson was at LSU, played pretty well, I thought. You know, the last couple of years kind of been forced into action, but has played pretty well. So not sure who's going to win the starting quarterback job there yet, but I think they're going to have decent quarterback play. The thing is going to be consistency with them, and I think that's what's going to get them. That's one of the things that got them last year. Yes, they beat Alabama, but, you know, they lost the 2 games leading up to beating Bama. And then, you know, they got into the year and lost more games. So that's the biggest thing to me is seeing more consistency out of the Aggies. So Aaron, who you got at number 2 in the West?
At number 2, I have the Arkansas Razorbacks going 9-3. And for the same reason I like Mark Stoops, I really like Sam Pittman. I love blue collar football. This is the SEC. You got to have a little bit of blue collar there at least. You can't be off in this. And but they for the talent they have, they don't get a bunch of 5 stars and everything. But Sam Pittman has them. They play just good football. You're not going to beat them fundamentally. You just have to have a lot more talent than they got. And that's the reason I only got them with 3 losses. They, KJ Richardson, I look for him to even progress more than he already has.
Jefferson. KJ Jefferson.
Yes, Jefferson. Sorry. But if there is a KJ Richardson, I look for him to progress. But anyway, their defense, they play a simple brand of defense, but it is effective for them. They stay back in coverage and they come up and tackle. They do not miss many tackles. So that is my reason for Arkansas. They will give Bama and everybody in SEC all they want this year at 9-3 and second place in the SEC West.
All right. So last but definitely not least, being number 1 in the SEC West, the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, guys, as far as talent goes, Bama's the most talented team in the country this year. I mean, that's just, I know I'm not making any just grand statements. I'm not making any grand statements here, no revelations, but Bama's talented. I got Bama going 11-1. And one thing about it, I just don't like to predict teams to go undefeated unless it's just an extenuating circumstance. But it's hard to go undefeated. And you look at the amount of teams that Saban's had that's won titles that didn't go undefeated. So, I mean, it's hard for Alabama to do it. So, not that I don't ever predict teams to go undefeated, but it's rare. So, I got them being 11-1 this year. The over-under, according to what I'm seeing and what I saw in Vegas Insiders, 10.5. That seems a little low for me for an over-under. I do not see Alabama losing 2 games this year. One is going to be, I mean, it's going to take a lot for them to get 1 loss. 2 is going to be difficult. But, I mean, where do you start with Alabama? I mean, they return the Heisman Trophy winner. Then they probably return the best player in college football, the guy who didn't win the Heisman, Will Anderson. And, I mean, they return guys except for wide receiver, experienced receivers. They don't return much. Of course, they brought in Jermaine Burton and Tyler Harrell from Louisville. Offensive line, brought in Tyler Steen at left tackle. And these guys have pretty much, for the most part, most of them have stepped right in. Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. Bama's loaded on offense. They're loaded at skill positions. The offensive line is probably their weakest point. That or tight end. Tight end, they're going to go into the year a little banged up. But the offense should be 40, 45 points a game this year. I really expect it. Got the OC returning. Tons of talent. Nick Saban, best coach of all time. Offense going to be good. Defense going to be excellent. It better be, or Pete Golden won't be around. If it's not, because they return tons of talent, tons of experience. The They brought in Eli Ricks, if he can get healthy, projected a first-round pick. I mean, once again, tons of talent. Your play callers are coming back. Pete Golden's coming back for another year as the DC. Schedule is hard, but not brutal by any means. This Bama team's going to be good, y'all. It's going to be good. So I have them at 11-1 and hitting the over. So what you got on Bama, eh?
Obviously, the Crimson and the White, they're going to be the number one team in the SEC West at 11-1. Like T was talking about, somebody sneaks up on them. But when you play in the SEC West, and everybody's shooting for you every week, especially if you're number one, preseason number one or anything, sometimes you're going to have an off game and somebody catches you right. That's the only reason I'm going with 11-1. As far as talent, when you look at talent, I mean, it should be blind 12-0. Not only the starters and depth on defense, you have the Heisman Trophy winner, the probably top two players that's going to be picked in the NFL draft this year. The offensive halfback room is just talent all over the place, 4 and 5 deep. I look for the offensive line to be better, bringing in the Kentucky offensive line coach, and they won the offensive line award last year. So Alabama, it was a no-brainer to pick them 11-1 and the number one team in the SEC West.
All right. Well, that's got us for today. That's our rankings from bottom to top in the SEC East and SEC West. As we go along this year, we will be doing weekly predictions that we will be doing. We will be doing between 5 and 10 games a week that we're going to be predicting. I know the last couple of years we've been doing it, and we've been running around a 60% correct. We only pick against the spread, so we will be doing some spread picks this year. And we'll be doing that and discussing some of these teams going forward. But definitely, guys, be sure, like the video. Hopefully you like it. Throw a comment down there. Give us your predictions. What you see teams doing. And let's get some conversation going. That's what we'd like to do. We like to talk sports, and we really like to talk college football. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.